This is Joy News Desk with me, Mamisi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up, Ghana Water Company wants it may shut down its treatment plants if 280% tariff increment proposal is not approved.
We'll end up owing some other people, and the next moment we will not be able to operate. We may shut down some of the plants, and we will not be able to serve the people in those areas.
We'll tell you about the radical proposal from the Coalition Against Illegal Mining to stop the continuous pollution of water bodies.
They should be paying more for their water than the people in Sogakope, where the water is not that polluted. So we need to now start applying the polluter pays principle to water that we consume.
Also, trouble for foreign-owned businesses at Abossey Okanya's traders prepare to act on the 3-day ultimatum that runs out today. Details plus business coming up shortly. Please stay. Ghana Water Company Limited is warning of possible shutdowns of some of its treatment plants if it requests for a 2-day or 208% tariff hike is not approved. The company says illegal mining has severely polluted the rivers it depends on, forcing it to quadruple the use of alum and other chemicals to treat water, a cost burden that has pushed it deep into debt. Now, Chief Manager of Corporate Planning, Michael Kluche, says without the proposed adjustment, operations will become unsustainable.
We are having the inadequate tariff because of the pollution that is ongoing, and our cost of production has to go up. Some 10 years ago, or even before then, the cost build-up, within the cost build-up, chemical was about number 4, also number 5, electricity, staff costs, maintenance, and then chemicals. But now chemical is taking spot 2. Let me give you just a gist of something.
You must be exaggerating.
No, I'm not exaggerating. Let me give you just a gist of something. If you go to Bonsa, we were using alum, 10 bags of alum a week. Fast forward to 2022, we were using the same 10 bags of alum a week that we were using it a day. Today, as we speak, we are using 40 bags of alum. As of that is the last year, we were using 40 bags of alum. No, this is not full recovery, because we are not asking for anything to make Ghana Water Company profitable or anything in that sense. All that we want to do is to cover costs. It's scary. You know, last time, just about some week ago, we said that the very plant he's talking about, we said that we need to dislodge the swamp.
So you're telling me that if you don't get 280% increase, what, Ghana Water will shut down?
Well, the issue is that we'll end up owing some other people, and the next moment we will not be able to operate. We may shut down some of the plants, and we will not be able to serve the people in those areas.
Well, convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, says communities polluting rivers upstream should pay higher tariffs than those that keep them clean.
Have a radical solution to this. If we in the communities where Galamsey is happening, we keep on saying it, and they won't. Then the people in Kwenyako, for example, whose water is 32,000 NTU, or Bonsa, where currently you are having to use polyelectrolytes to treat the water, they should be paying more for their water than the people in Sogakope, where the water is not that polluted. So we need to now start applying the polluter pays principle to water that we consume.
Well, let's explore this further. Professor Mahmoudou Akudugu is UTEC president. Dr. Ronald Abrahams, consultant on water treatment. We're grateful for your time. Also joining us is Erastus Asaridonko, multimedia journalist, and who's, been following this water Galamsey thing for the past years. And also Isaac Kofieje is a lead data analyst at Joy News. I'm grateful for your time, gentlemen, on our desk. Let me start with Erastus Asaridonko. Is Erastus with me? Right. Let's start with Dr. Ronald Abrahams, and he's consultant on water treatment. Dr. Abraham, thank you for joining us. I believe you had the Michael Klucher of the Ghana Water Limited talking about the amount of alum used to treat water. What do you make of his assertion currently, the situation we find ourselves in?
Used so much. And when you get sales at the moment, it has become extremely tough to treat. It will institute that for many people. Just a few days ago, we're around Chevy and they were not producing water. And people need water because the water has become so turbid, or in terms, very dirty, to the extent that you can't just apply alum to it and solve the problem. So they will have to change the technology or the process of treating water for people. So when you overdose the alum, it will have consequences of palatability and then suitability as potable water. So we need to really, really fight this illegal mining, or what we call things. And we should be at the drawing table by now. Also look at what other jobs will actually keep people out of the pit. Because when we stop what we are doing, the treatment of water will be fine. The water will become treatable. So we have to look at all of these things. The same thing with small tapage. There is another treatment facility at tapage. When you really look at what is in the central area, the stability levels are so high that you can treat the water. The thing that you play, because people, more offensive, you want to bring back other mechanisms, looking at the level.
How dangerous is it? I mean, you've researched into this. How dangerous is it to use this amount of alum to treat water in a day for consumption?
Well, there are things. Water is actually with the WHO, and then the water and look good. So what
Dr. Abrahams, I beg your pardon. Kindly reposition yourself. I find it very difficult to hear you, and I know you're making a very important point, so that we can hear you properly. Yes.
Okay. Now, water treatment and use for agriculture. We have a thing we call potable water. When you overdose out, you taste the water, you realize that this water bottle or treated water chemically moved. And the moment we get into it, then automatically the water will not be, and will then treat it. It will not actually reach the acceptable standard. So the need to come into the water. Even if the water becomes, you can correct, but if you are unable to get the within the range, and always within the 6.5 to 8 and the water is terrible, nobody can use it, or not is not good. Well, so there's a little to
I believe we should get a clearer line to Dr. Ronald, and whilst we do that, let me speak to Erastus Asari Donko. He's multimedia journalist, and he's done so much work, extensive reporting on Galamsey, and it's one of the major issues that the Ghana Water Company is asking for a 280% increment, or 208% increment in tariffs. Erastus, you've been following this for some time. We knew that the police service was undergoing some kind of operation in these areas to clamp down on Galamsey, but recently heard they've called off the operation. Tell us more about that. Let's start from there.
Well, so when I broke the news that the IGP's men have been withdrawn from the ground, I got a response from government sectors that indeed they have not been withdrawn totally, and that they are refocusing and re-strategizing towards mining on water bodies, mining close or along water bodies and forest reserves. I'm yet to see the direct focus on that. And that is what some of us are waiting for, because the mining on water bodies has not stopped. It has rather worsened. The mining along water bodies has also not stopped. It's worsening by the day. In fact, some major rivers have been blocked totally. I'm talking about the Ankobra, the Pra, where the Dabuasi intake point of the Ghana Water Company takes its source from. In parts of it, at Chifu Praso, you see the number of champagne machines that are sitting on it currently. And all this goes to further contaminate the water. I'm saying contaminate because when we conducted tests on samples from the Dabuasi water intake point, we realized that we saw high levels of heavy metals in there. So whilst we are worried about even the cost of buying polymers, which has gone up for the Ghana Water Company, we should be worried about the heavy metals that are not being lifted from the water that is treated at the end of the day and pumped into our homes. The Ghana Water Company's treatment process cannot lift heavy metals from the water. And so it's a dire situation, and it's unfortunate that the people who are supposed to be fighting it are being withdrawn. And currently, we're having that major situation across the country.
So, Erastus, well, how then do we move ahead with the fight? Seeing that the police is saying that they're, repositioning, re-strategizing to go. What really was the point, though, in recalling to re-strategize? What was the problem? Do you know?
I don't know. We are yet to get that briefing from the IGP and, of course, the Interior Minister. We do not know why they were withdrawn, but the explanation I have been given is that they want to re-strategize and refocus on water bodies and mining along water bodies. I am yet to see that on the ground to justify the withdrawal of the IGP's team. And if there's something like that in the pipeline, it is something that should be immediate, it should be urgent, because what we are seeing across the country is a situation that affects everybody across every part of Ghana at the moment. Let me tell you that currently some parts of the central region have been affected. They are not getting water.
Yes.
Aguna, Swedru, and Esembarans are not getting water.
Water plant was just shut down.
Yes, the plant has not been shut down because of any financial problem. It's been shut down because they can no longer treat the water that is coming in. And we have illegal miners who have pitched camps in some of these areas and are washing directly into the water sources that we treat as a country. And so if this is not an emergency, what else is? And I am surprised that we have leaders who are currently not seeing this as an emergency. When over 60% of all your major water bodies are highly polluted and contaminated, and you can't even get some to treat for your own safety.
Indeed. Erastus, you saw firsthand how the fight, or let's say the interventions government took, was going. For example, the police. We also understand that the Lands Ministry was also training water guards to be able to enable them, fight off these galamseyas. Do you think, from where you sit, it was effective enough and should have been continued?
Of course. And I have always said that if the IGP had not stepped in, areas like Samreboy, the Tano River, for example, the Tano River was being polluted deliberately by Chinese miners and their Ghanaian collaborators from about 10 communities along the Tano River from Samreboy, Ohiampenika, Datano, all along the water source. They were polluting it from that area. And it was the IGP who sacked everybody from along the Tano River. And so if that had continued and they had a point where they were staying in Samreboy and they were reinforcing what they have started over there, if that had been continued, perhaps we'll have the Tano River for some time being clearing. But as they left, now we have more people getting along the Tano River again. And I'm hearing reports of a lot of miners getting along the Tano River and polluting it along it again. So this is not something that should be withdrawn. This is something that should be beefed up. Law enforcement is necessary at where we are right now to be able to return our water bodies to their ecological integrity.
Right. Erastus, stay on with me. Let me get back to Dr. Ronald Abrahamson. Hopefully his line is much better. Dr. Ronald, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Great. So you've done research into these areas. To what extent, really, is the destruction? And what does this mean for our water security?
Well, come very close to getting water at all because we have a lot of water. I can say without any complaint that the water law is so much water. But currently, we don't have the transmission and the system to really get the water serving the whole country. And to go around from Tano to Denso to Ayuso to Plain are very polluted, more polluted than what we used to have in, say, 2023, 24. In 2025, the situation we have on the economic and my is that we should be at drawing board or sensitively for people because many make a lot of money to it. So we should make similar jobs, people give money to people at short intervals so that they are interested in illegal mining. Unfortunately, it's the regular mining companies referring to those who have obtained permits and the licenses. They also do this because when they look within the environment, they find out that people are mining cheap and are making all money attempted by the eight go over, which is why it's very important to repeal the law which allows people to mine in Britain, and also to declare documenting so that monitoring people will be easy. If there is no state of emergency, there's no person. People can work any time of the day. Look at the situation where we are talking about our economy. Our economy means that people can go up to 2 hours a day. But when we restrict the timing areas more because the military and the police are not very off the time, it will be quite expensive to maintain that. So we need to really have in place. Then at the same time, we're looking for activities, livelihoods, or jobs to pay what the mining benefits them. So that I've been around the country. And when you are home, if the regulator was, people are willing to have to go with some if it's money you are looking for, you are having, or something that you down and then you come for, but you need to really be very serious and speak out the bush.
All right.
To be strict. Law enforcement in Ghana, because in Ghana we have the fear, which is the smoking in public. So when as much as possible with ourselves, we see the solution, but we shouldn't actually only enforce them. We should be looking at alternative means of livelihood, and we should find much so that people will free. This money urgently and quickly to pay the bill, hospital bills, and then social bills, and economic one, relate more things of increase water and all of that. So before we get to the level when the PURC give the end the grant of which by these GC services should be looking at.
All right.
Very serious.
Right. Let me now talk to Kofi J, our lead data analyst. Or he was at the, tariff engagement yesterday. And Kofi, about 8 utility companies were asking or proposing increment in tariffs. Now, we've been talking so far about water, but there were other components and other utilities that take us through it. The main components that they were proposing for the increment.
Well, so yesterday, apart from the Ghana Water Company that came in with the biggest bid, somewhere around 281% increment in their tariff, energy utility companies were also there. ECG itself was there to make their proposal and to defend what they were requesting for. The Ghana National Gas was also there. GNPC made their presentation. The generators, Water River Authority, and then also Gridco were also there to also make their point. But the main focus yesterday was on ECG because they came in with a request of 228, 25% increment in their tariff. And in fact, we need to explain to our audience that this is not the end user tariff.
Okay.
This is a tariff that goes to the ECG directly. So if you look at the electricity cost we pay per every kilowatt hour that we consume, 11% at the moment goes to ECG as a source of revenue in the form of tariff. They want this to be increased by 25%. So that's not the end user tariff. So we understand that at this stage, they are the proposals, they've been submitted to the PRC, they will look into it and then, look at the approval process and all of that. But we also understand that in terms of the key reasons why ECG won this over 200% increment in tariff, one is the situation of the city at the moment. And in the past 3 years, which they believe the depreciation has really affected them in terms of their forest losses and all of that. There's also the current tariff, which is not being reflective. They say that if you look at the industry, and other peers are getting about 30 to 33% of the end user tariff that people pay, but ECG get only 11%, so they want this to be increased. There's also that large capital investment they've made since 2022, since we saw the last major tariff adjustment, which according to them, they've already spent somewhere around $402 million to upgrade network lines and then also to bring on board new smart meters. They still have projects ongoing, which is costing them about $420 million, and they need to recover all of these losses. But we've been looking at the tariff situation since 2023 in terms of the quarterly tariff adjustment. This has been the story of electricity tariff adjustment in the quarterly adjustment. You see it from 2023, first quarter, ECG was able to get 29.96% in terms of electricity tariff. That's the end user tariff anyway. And the second quarter came another, increment in 18-14. So definitely, ma'am, if you look at this chart, you can get an average of about, let's say, 11 to 12% increment over the years. And so the point is that the consumer has been suffering, this quarterly tariff adjustment. But this window gives the tariff companies or the utilities companies to now do what they call major tariff adjustment, which they do every 5 years.
Indeed.
And that is what they are requesting for. In terms of ECG's profitability position, which came out yesterday so heavily, was the fact that ECG is not in a safe position at the moment, where their losses in 2023 reached 10.2 billion Ghana cedis.
What's the main driver?
The main driver is the fact that ECG is doing what we call under recovery. So the power they sell, they are not able to match it when they collect their revenue. So almost all the time, government has to come in to pay what they call subsidies. And that is the reason why we've seen government coming on board with a 1 cedi additional levy on export price of fuel to be able to pay for liquid fuel and all of that.
Which is really not the fault of consumers.
Exactly.
So why should consumers, bear the cost? But that's not the question for you.
Exactly. But ECG is making the point that they need to recover their costs. And so if you look at the major tariff adjustments, we've had in the energy sector or the power sector. 2018 was the last time we saw a cut in terms of the major tariff adjustment that went to, electricity, where 17.5%, for electricity. And then if you come to 2020, so both water and electricity saw a cut in 2018. Then in 2022, during the COVID period, we saw some increment for electricity around 11.17%, 18. And then in 2022, remember, Mami, when ECG came in with 334% request for increment in their distribution service charge, they got only 27.15%. Okay. So many are saying that with this template, it is clear that although ECG is requesting for over 220%, they may possibly get around 30 or 40%, or maybe below what they even got in 2022, looking at the fact that the economic indicators currently have improved. We are approaching single-digit inflation. The city, although has not really been stable, but many say that it is better than what we used to see in 2022. That's why the big question mark is there. What will be the approval? But what we know from the IMF is that PRC is expected to complete their stakeholder negotiation by the end of this month. And if everything goes well, by next month, the 1st of October, we should see these tariffs taking effect.
Did they say anything concerning the considerations, though, yesterday at the engagement? The PUIC, I mean.
Well, the PUIC has been tight-lipped about, they say that this is the moment for the utility companies to present their proposals. When they are done, they are the ones going to look at all the 8 proposals that they've received from the utility companies and then come out with the approval. So at the moment, what you see out there are proposals, but not the final, tariff that will come to the consumer. But PRC will go through all the proposals and then make those in terms of the decision, in terms of what will be the final tariff that will go to the utility companies. But TCG, they are very clear. They want 225% increment in their distribution service charge, which is not the end user charge in the tariff anyway.
Thank you so much, Kweku. Sorry, Kofi J. Why am I changing your name this morning? Anyway, that's what happens when you're supposed to pay more, for your tariffs. Anyway, we still have Dr. Ronald Abrahams. He's a water consultant on the line, and also Erastus Asari Donkov with me. And before I let them off, Dr. Ronald Abrahams, I would like to know from you that is this tariff, proposal by the Ghana Water Company realistic, or should it be more? What should we do, really? I get to pay for the inefficiencies in the system. Government knows the problem, and they're not tackling it. They are always going around it. Is it really realistic, fair to me, the consumer, to pay for that amount?
Well, currently, the economic in the country, they will have to be, we cannot actually collapse them. They can't also put all the pressure on the citizenry. We have to be very careful in that respect, because we just come out of that harsh economic, and we have so while we should find ways to push things happen so that we abet, secondly, I would say very positive.
I can hardly hear you, Doc. Once again.
I'll have to be clear. I think it should be too stressful for the general public to actually take the level of increment they are proposing at the moment. Something has to be done so we come into a halfway through sort of situation. It's bit by bit. When we can't actually put everything on the general public at home, we need to be careful we don't overburden people and make it very difficult to even pay the bill. Because when the bills are too high, well, then it will be difficult to pay them. So you have to actually run the market.
All right.
Commercial salary is a account to go to cope with that. So I think somewhere halfway will be okay.
All right. Erastus, your last words. I mean, really, we're hoping that this fight against galamsey, takes root and then it is kept. We also understand that the presidency will be addressing some of these issues. But really, what do you think should be done, to ensure that this thing is resolved?
A state of emergency. If we think that the situation we are finding ourselves with our water bodies currently is urgent. A state of emergency on mining on our water bodies. Let me, before I go, take you through the latest figures from the Water Resources Commission. That's for April 2025. And if you look at the Ofin River in the Ashanti region, we're talking about turbidity units of 19,325 NTU, 19,000. And that's at Adiemra. If you look at Dunkwa Ofin, 17,000.
Wow.
If you look at the same river at Bunso, we're talking about 20,476 for the Brim River. That's turbidity.
That's serious.
If you look at the Pra, 5,500 NTU at the Dabwasi intake point, where the Ghana Water Company pick up the water for treatment. So with this kind of turbidity, you will need more polymers, which is very expensive to even settle the water before you even start treating for fungi and other things. We are talking about heavy metals in the water. So if you come to your home, drinking it will be a problem for you. So until we begin to see that this is an emergency and government begins to sit up and act, then we are in for a very big trouble. And that is what all Ghanaians at the moment should start thinking about. We should all rise up and demand that the government does something about this, and this is treated as an emergency. That's what I would say.
Right. Thank you very much, Erastus Asaridonko. And also, we play you this clip of the Energy Committee chairperson in Parliament, Emmanuel Bedra, who has also been commenting on the tariff adjustment or proposals that these utility companies have been proffering.
Honestly, Evans, when I was at the other side of the aisle, when I was the ranking member for Works and Housing and Water Resources, I remember in one of our conversations with PRC, I told them that, well, I will even approve of about 300% for them at that time. But sitting here as the chairman of the Energy Committee and listening to PRC, ECGA, and all the institutions that are under PRC, I will not approve anything, that ECG will bring to us.
You mean
Why?
You mean zero?
Zero.
Explain.
In fact, I just returned from outside, and on my own page, that is my committee's page, it was bipartisan bashing on ECG. I mean, nobody, they will not come to us with this. In fact, I'm going to call the PRC executive secretary that he shouldn't bring it to us. The last time they increased in 17%, they came. We told them, well, should have consulted us. You didn't consult us. How can you increase ECG tariff to 225%? Is Evans? Do we have the purchasing power of consumers to pay for it? But the conversation should also move from there to find out whether we want these utilities to be a social good or private good. And I believe you will come there and then we'll discuss it. If it is a private good, then ECG can go ahead and do whatever they want to do. But if it's a social good, the government must support ECG to recover the cost. Because one of the factors that I saw was the full cost recovery of our debts. Why do you pass on this debt to consumers? And so for me, I believe that if we don't want to move the conversation to full cost recovery, which will become automatically private good, then we should be looking at it as social.
Are you suggesting the government should absorb the cost?
And if government should absorb some of the costs, and if government is going to absorb some of the costs, then we should also look at the mismanagement of ECG as well.
Well, from that, traders at Abosokai earlier this week gave an ultimatum for foreign-owned shops to close or be forced to close. They said this move is supported by GUTA and seeks to enforce Ghana's trade laws. The spare parts dealers opine this will also protect local businesses. But the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, says the action is a wrong move. Here's CEO Simon Maji.
Well, closing down the shops is not the right step immediately. We believe that the right step immediately will be a lot more consultations, trading with stalls and also hawking. These are exclusively reserved for Ghanaians. So yes, we can understand some of the concerns that they have. We think that the market is managed by the district assemblies. And so the district assembly and the district security committee will be in the right position to understand who comes in, who goes out.
Well, my colleague Collins Frimpong also spoke with Dr. Victor Doke on this.
Stakeholder engagement that they need to do, not just a one-off thing. I think they also have to call the foreign nationals in a meeting. There's this thing we call coexistence, and then you cannot ignore that. So we avoid any kind of diplomatic spat between our big brothers. That's what we call them. So if they are going to do a very comprehensive dialogue, the stakeholders have to, be called in, these ownerships, and they have their leadership. So they all have to come in and then agree to what the law states that they can do and what the law says they cannot do. So I think in doing that, before then, you need to, address these issues, send a message to them, then they can agree. But if we just, go in there without explanations or giving them what the law says or whatever, I think it will be somewhat of a confrontation if care is not taken. So these things will have to be done.
We've gone past all these stages where we need to bring in the dialogue. Today, they want to go out and eject people, the foreign nationals from the retail market. Most of the times when this happens, we see people coming in trying to retaliate. It's not going to cause some sort of distraction.
It will, if it is not done well. You mentioned the negotiations and the dialogue has been done. So if so, then mine should understand. And they wouldn't even have come to open the shops if they have understood the terms, the laws. So it means they didn't. So what do you do again? You go back to the dialogue table. There's nothing wrong with it. But if we don't do that and then we want to, enforce by going in there with GUTA and then the state security and we have confrontations, how do you de-escalate the situation? You'll still come back to the dialogue table. So it's better you go, dialogue doesn't matter how many times you do it, so far as you want to achieve your aim. So it's better for them to understand than for you to go there and then now you have, physical confrontations with them, which will send a bad signal also to the other nationals. What if this sends a wrong signal to their followers or their kinsmen in, their country, and then they take it the wrong way, they start attacking Ghanaians? This is not what we want. So I think we need to do due diligence and know what, to do in this case. Dialogue can be done so many times. Now I'm proposing the dialogue because these are people who can understand that, they are businessmen. So once they know they are not supposed to tread into other areas, they won't.
Now, quick one before you go. We have a lot of foreign nationals, and most of these people are Nigerians. Looking at our relationship with them, how is this going to impact our relationship with the other countries whose people are there?
Laws are laws, and even in Nigeria, when you go to Nigeria, you abide by the laws. You cannot trade in any other ways, or you can't go to wholesale, or you can't go to retail if the law does not permit you. So I think they are law-abiding people. They know what the law states here. So they will definitely go by it. Our relationship with them is not going to go sour if we take the right steps.
Well, let's head to Abosokai now and speak to my colleague Adobia Asari, who's there to find out whether really the shops have been closed. Adobia, what can you report?
Yes, Mamiesi, we are currently here at Abosokai Spare Parts Market, where before we got here, we actually roved parts of the market for some time, and we noticed that some shops were closed, but coming to the office to speak to leadership, they told us some people didn't comply with the directive and thus they've opened their shops today. Apparently, the shops were closed from Monday. They were given 3 days to close their shops, which actually ends today, where the leadership of Abosokan is expected to meet with the leadership of these foreign nationals and other stakeholders to have a proper stakeholder engagement to discuss salient issues and what can be done about the complaints from Ghanaian traders that foreign nationals are putting pressure on their businesses. Now, we came here and we noticed that some shops are closed, all right, because their day hasn't ended yet, but others have opened. And one of the leaders was telling me they claim, those whose shops are open claim they are married to Ghanaians, and so the shops do not belong to them as foreigners, they belong to their spouses, which leadership say is a lie. The PRO is not in yet, he's yet to speak to us, but currently this is a situation here. We're told they were given 3 days to close their shops and will be opened after the a proper stakeholder engagement meeting happens. But some of them have refused to comply to this directive. Right in Frame is a shop owned by Nigerian who says is married to a Ghanaian, so does not fall under that category of foreign-owned shop. So he's opened his shop. He closed it on Monday, but on Tuesday and today, the shop is opened, as well as other shops. But there are shops on top of this building, at the top floor and the middle floor of this building, which are closed, all right, waiting for the aftermath of the stakeholder engagements before they will open if they have to. But I have here a few traders here at Abosokan who also deal in spare parts. I'll be engaging shortly. Wafa, morning, no, Pacho Hoye. Pacho, Yanyanite, say, na e was say, Sebe, Nigeria phone, any omwa foreigners, no more shop Abosokan, omuntu shop mu, Adentia.
The interim customer to shop ni mono anya boni bia, but I say nyina nka nyina de nka nyina ki hu ye de nyina ye mama nyina nka ye nipa ba ko, but say some ba o de ni ma ne ba o be supply man na ye su ye dwane cost no ye ton no mo mfa ma o ba no ma san ye be compete the see market price no ono ba na wa be je store no so de egu ni ni no so ton no say de ya ha no ye ton e compete or even kura no mount me ba kura at the stand say utimi san te so kura Emma Moma Kofani man free to a bass and wo ye omamba no o ton de na o de ne boy din crache on no or ye you need to know.
Wafa, Bisa, are they were cost for how long?
Oh, I cost almost 10 years in it.
And yes, I check. But once I buy you who says shops in me amatum, all right, baby, be. By any leader back who castle catcher and say, Ninty ammonia share and some person a bayan to quantoquasem. No cry woman saying. I
know the young penny for an association penny for no. And I don't craft Nigeria for penny for no home. Now, I'm come. Now, I want to turn Yamana and Yama and Cosso Boko, Mumpesa, on the Malabesha, myself. I get Biama, they went to and Piaba. Okay, so from what they are saying, this particular man here says when these foreigners bring them products, probably engines, spare parts, whatever it is they sell here, they do not only supply to them, sometimes they go to the extent of reducing their prices, making competition very tough for them in this place. And these were concerns that were also raised on Monday by traders when we came here. They said the same things about how they're putting pressure on their businesses. And then the reason they haven't attacked anyone or confronted anyone is because of the much respect they have for leadership. Leadership has told these traders not to confront anyone, not to ask any questions, not to go attacking anybody, even though they have seen their counterparts, foreigners, have opened their shops. So they're quietly sitting here waiting for management to have that engagement with the executives of the foreign nationals, and then they'll know the way forward. And this is in line with something GIPC said yesterday. They just hope
they were quite afraid that there will be some sort of altercations or violence. But I think these traders here at Abossey are doing very well by paying respect to their leadership and watching calmly. The meeting is expected to happen later today around 4 p.m. I'm told, or earlier, depending on the time the executives all arrive. So that's the current situation here at Abossey. Mame.
From the Abossey market. We'll take a break now from Joy News Desk. We'll be back with business.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwa. We begin with this news just in. Ghana's economy grew by 6.3% for the second quarter of this year, according to data released by the Ghana Statistical Service in Accra today. The expansion was fueled by strong growth from the services sector, which recorded a 9.9% growth rate. The services sector also accounted for the largest share of Ghana's economy and contributed the largest as well. The growth is the highest posted for the country since 2019. Now, the falling prices of cocoa on the international market could soon hit the country's earnings badly and income for farmers. This is despite the projected bumper harvest for the 2025-2026 crop season. My colleague Winston Taki has more in this report.
Market data shows cocoa has lost close to 13% of its value in the past month. Demand concerns have added further pressure, with major chocolate companies revising their sales and margins outlooks in recent months. For Ghana, which the Cocoa Board projects will produce 650,000 tons in the 2025-2026 season, an increase of 8.3% from the previous year, falling prices are a mixed blessing. While the higher volume promises stronger export earnings, the drop in global prices means those gains may not translate into proportional revenue increases. The situation is further complicated by production challenges. Industry sources now warn of a potential 10% fall in cocoa output across West Africa, including Ghana, because of aging trees, disease, and illegal mining. Some analysts doubt Ghana can reach even 600,000 tons this season, with more consecutive estimates placing output closer to 500,000 tons. Still, structural constraints provide some support for prices. Cocoa inventories remain tight, and production setbacks in Nigeria and quality concerns in Ivory Coast are helping to limit the scale of price declines. At the same time, Ghana's cocoa farmers are cautiously optimistic.
The Ministry of Energy and Green Transition has revealed that 3 investors have expressed interest in the country's quest to develop nuclear energy as part of its energy mix. According to Deputy Minister of Energy Richard Jan Mensah, the move represents significant progress aimed at improving the country's energy output. He said this and other initiatives, including the ongoing renegotiation of the debt-owed independent power producers, contribute to measures being implemented by the ministry to ensure affordable electricity.
It has a target to reach 90% coverage by the end of the year. And our vision is also not just only making electricity accessible to all Ghanaians, but also making sure that it's much more affordable to our people. So one of the measures we are putting in place is now the comparative procurement for power generation, and then also now the renegotiation of existing power purchase agreements, which currently we've made almost about 7 IPPs have actually met with the ministry, and we have done some negotiation and have concluded on that. Very soon, when we are done with everything, we will come out officially to communicate what we have, the milestone we have achieved on that. So hopefully we are looking forward to Ghana having a very affordable power sector, and that is why we're also considering bringing on board the nuclear, which I mentioned that the government have secured almost about 60% of the sites for renewable power projects, and then has also started on 2 vendors, one from the America, one also from China. And there's a new even discussion with the Russian government who also have also brought in a proposal or a project, and we are going to consider as well. Ghana wants to, beyond as part of the renewable energy agenda, we are looking also to include the nuclear power to it.
And that's it for business. Back to Mamesi, who has some more news for.
Thank you so much for business. Now, Acting Chief Executive of the Complementary Education Agency has disclosed that there are about 7.9 million illiterates between the ages of 6 to 15 in Ghana. Dana Kwesiesiama wants relevant authorities to deal with the high illiteracy rate in the country. Martina Bugui reports.
The International Literacy Day celebration on the 8th September is an annual reminder about the importance of education and how literacy is a fundamental aspect of human dignity and rights. The theme for the 58th anniversary celebration is promoting literacy in the digital. Speaking at the event in Tamale, Acting Chief Executive of the CEA, Daniel Kwesi Ashama, said literacy was a human right.
Today's society is driven and led by digital tools. This imposes a significant duty on the agency to ensure the mandate's target population acquires a suitable mix of literacy and digital skills relevant to the modern era. Lifelong learning is essential for both individuals and national socio-economic growth. Achieving this necessitates infrastructure that facilitates the optimal use of digital tools. Today, the literacy has become the ladder, serving as the enabler for the poor to climb out of the pit of poverty.
The Northern Regional Minister, Adolf John Ali, said reading and writing should not just be on paper, but also digital.
Reading and writing in today's world is not only on paper, but heavily digitalized. Hence, the need for the acquisition of digital skills cannot be overemphasized, as we all know. Indeed, without literacy and digital skills, your functionality in the country's development and the world, for that matter, would be limited.
The Deputy Minister for Education, Dr. Clement Opak, said there was a review of the curriculum at the basic level to include local languages.
The Minister has asked now to include mother tongue in our educational curriculum for basic education, which is currently under review. I am very much aware of your financial support, which has made today's event successful. To UNESCO, on behalf of government and our minister, we are most grateful.
And that's all we have for our desk today. I am Amisi Nyamiche Thompson.